As diplomatic efforts between the U.S. and Iran play out, intelligence suggests that Iranian nationals are trying to get into the country with the help from the Mexican cartels.
So Mexican cartels are teaming up with America's enemies to flood our country with dangerous individuals. And while the idea of state-sponsored actors sneaking across our border is
the news will tell you none of them are dangerous. They're all good, hardworking people. Completely ignore the trafficking, the Fetty, all that stuff. It's ridiculous.
Incredibly frightening, things get even worse when you realize ICE is taking down very sophisticated smuggling networks, which seem to be incredibly common in sanctuary cities for some reason.
And there is a heightened state of alert over concerns of sleeper cells here at home. And this comes as the feds make an arrest at a Los Angeles area house. They say it's an Iranian human smuggling hub that repeatedly harbors illegal migrants linked to terrorism.
From the FBI to Border Patrol, federal authorities do remain on high alert of a possible retaliatory attacks within the United States. Now, according to a new internal document, Border Patrol agents on the southern border did receive intel that 35 Iranian nationals in Mexico were planning to cross the border illegally.
Yeah, that's right. Border Patrol actually drove us between the border fences today and took us to exactly where they found that cross-border tunnel. The tunnel at its highest point was 48 inches high and 28 inches wide, with lighting, ventilation, and a rail car system. Upon entry, agents also encountered multiple makeshift barricades, which were placed by the tunnel workers.
This is a major security concern. So just last week, ICE did arrest 11 Iranian nationals living in the United States. Some of these individuals came through visa and parole loopholes under the Biden administration. Some had final deportation orders for years, but remain in the United States.
Mainstream news will never mention this. They're all good, hardworking people. It's not a problem.
So the idea that everyone crossing the U.S. border just wants to live the American dream continues to be proven false. But what nobody's talking about is the networks empowering these dangerous individuals are the exact same ones that have been around for decades, as they are the work of Mexican cartels and smugglers who up until 2025 had a $13 billion per year business, sneaking the wrong people into our country for obnoxious fees, sometimes in the tens of thousands of dollars, where once inside they transport these folks through networks of smuggling hubs, which could be in your
So if you didn't know, if you get caught here illegally, it is a $5,000 fine and you can't come back, I think, for 20 years. That is going to put a dent into this situation.
Very backyard, especially if you live in a sanctuary city, as these places make great hiding spots for folks who are not supposed to be here. And since the start of this year, we've seen massive smuggling operations run by foreign nationals taken down, sometimes during the wee hours of the morning, but also in broad daylight, with those doing the smuggling and those they're bringing in both being taken into custody after having traveled here secretly from the farthest corners of the globe. And that brings us to the real issue no progressive open borders advocate wants to discuss. America's got enemies in addition to them, and sanctuary cities just empower those people. And with the US border seeing some of the lowest recorded crossing rates,
I mean, if there is any place that they should hide where I don't care about is liberal cities. They're already screwed up.
In decades, the fees to enter America without permission are now sky high, leaving only the very wealthy or the very state-sponsored with the resources necessary to enter our country in ways that are becoming increasingly more creative.
Yeah, that's right. Border Patrol actually drove us between the border fences today and took us to exactly where they found that cross-border tunnel. The tunnel at its highest point was 48 inches high and 28 inches wide, with lighting, ventilation, and a rail car system. The tunnel stretched nearly 3,000 feet between a house in Tijuana and made it 1,000 feet into the U.S. before agents found it.
So that tunnel, which led to a house in Mexico, was under construction, but that's just one of the ways people are circumnavigating the U.S. border. And the other would be by sea, with sea-based incursions being very difficult to stop because they can't be walled off and blocked just like a land crossing.
So to my knowledge, there is no technology that can currently detect these tunnels. And not only that, people come through the gate, right? A lot of these Border Patrol people are paid off, not all of them, but it's so easy to get to them. Hey, let this car go by, just give away $50,000. I mean, it's hard to refuse that.
could be. Regardless, once these criminals get inside America, they need a place to hide. And as you're about to see, the locations of these stash houses can be pretty easy to predict.
Border Patrol agents took over a neighborhood in North Hills, zeroing in on a house they say has been acting as a human smuggling hub.
Those people were on the FBI terrorist watch list, but some neighbors simply don't believe that this is true.
Oh, really?
Customs and Border Patrol raided this home on Napa Street in North Hills. 2 people inside the home were detained.
They pulled me out, they put me in handcuffs, and then put me in the back of the van.
This woman, who lives in a separate unit on the property, was also detained. They released her, she says, when they realized she didn't live at the address on the warrant.
Violated, I'm upset.
She needs to do some walking.
I have high blood
Cardio.
pressure, so I shouldn't be stressing out, and I'm very stressed out right now. Very stressed out.
Customs and Border Patrol.
Okay, so this neighbor, of course, nobody wants to have the apartment next to theirs get raided, but instead of being upset with the policies that allowed the wrong folks to live next to her to begin with, she's upset that those people were pulled out in a manner that was not conducive to living comfortably in America. And this is exactly why criminals are shacking up in sanctuary cities. They know they're protected, not just by the local legal system, which will give...
It's so dumb because, like, let's say you're at a stash house and you had nothing to do with it, but the FBI comes and raids, or the DEA, they're obviously going to detain you till they figure out who you are, you know?
them a driver's license, free health care, and won't turn them over to ICE even if they go to jail, but will also protect them because some neighbors are real activists and they'll come out of the woodwork and assault ICE when they're trying to make an arrest because they've been misled by the television and their leaders into thinking that if law enforcement is doing its job, some grave injustice is taking place. And to terrorists and cartel members, this is music to their ears.
Very stressed out.
Customs and Border Patrol released a statement about the operation, saying in part, earlier this week, CBP arrested 7 other Iranian nationals at this address, including individuals on the FBI terror watch list and Iranian human trafficking network associates. This location has been used repeatedly to harbor illegal entrants, including foreign nationals linked to terrorism and flagged on the FBI's terrorist watch list.
So at what point do you go and arrest the landlord? At what point does repeatedly end? Did they let this go on so that they could track the operation? We don't know. But what we do know is this home, it had a history of this kind of thing, which is absolutely ridiculous. Because if one of these is out there that's got a history like this, you know there are others. But smugglers are getting sneaky, and instead of renting a physical home, sometimes what they do now is they embed themselves in an Airbnb temporarily.
What started out right as a really
Imagine you rented out your Airbnb and then you saw on the camera like 15 people just coming and going. I'd be like, I'd definitely call somebody.
easy way to book our family vacations, to book a vacation home somewhere, is now being exploited by smugglers looking for a safe place to stash their human cargo. So this property owner became suspicious after noticing unusual activity, immediately contacted Homeland Security investigations. When agents arrived, they found 13 migrants from Mexico and Guatemala inside of that rental.
You know what we've seen a lot, and my sources tell me, is a lot of prior deports. People that have been in this country illegally, have been deported, and are now back. And since they know they cannot come in and turn themselves in, they are being smuggled into these stash houses.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. So smugglers are not only using Airbnbs, not just in sanctuary cities, but everywhere in America to get temporary residence so that they can hide and then move to their next location. The people they're bringing in oftentimes are the worst of the worst. And to top it all off, you've either got homeowners who are complicit in these scams and are part of these criminal operations, or who are totally unsuspecting and play along with these criminals thinking that the person booking their home just wants to have a massive family vacation without knowing that their house is now part of a criminal enterprise. But as you're about to see, it's even better for these criminals if they can sequester their activities in parts of the country where they know they'll be defended.
Neighbors who live next door didn't want to go on camera, but told NBC4 the group of young men who lived in the home were asylum seekers from Iran and don't believe they are a threat.
People come here to seek a better life, right? And we all have that right.
Roxana.
It's always that. Avoid all the problems. Everyone's just coming to work. They're all good, hardworking people. I mean, it's so stupid.
legally.
Has heard of the raid and immediately drove to the neighborhood to distribute informational flyers. She believes the people taken don't pose a threat, but are just more victims, she says, of this administration's deportation operation.
So why would she believe that? The only thing she's looking at are 5 soldiers bringing this person in handcuffs out of their home after they were parked in front of the street in a military vehicle. How can she look at that and say these people are obviously innocent or guilty? She doesn't know anything. But what we do know is that you wouldn't have a military operation in a residential neighborhood for no reason. On top of that, what this woman probably doesn't know is that this home was a known smuggling ring destination. However, what better advertisement could you possibly make to let the enemies of our country know California is wide open for business? We've moved past the point of defending illegal immigrants from Mexico, and now we're defending foreign terrorists from who knows where. All because the president running the country right now isn't who some of these people voted for, and since he's in charge, all of these radicals believe people in handcuffs on their way to the back of a military vehicle should walk free. But let's be real, terror threats living in someone's backyard, that's horrible. And most Americans would be totally supportive of law enforcement if they came knocking and then removed the wrong people who never should have been here. Most of us would be very happy about that.
Absolutely, Dana. These are two
This whole thing could spark some kind of war, civil war. I think what's going to set it off is as soon as one of these protesters accidentally passes away, that they're going to turn him into a martyr, and they're going to say, look, Trump is a dictator. He deserves this. Let's go to war. That's what's going to set it off.
Individuals who not only have terrorist links, but also are involved in a human smuggling, human trafficking operation we likely think surrounding terrorism. But further than this has been a priority since day one of this administration to get these extremists, to get these known and suspected terrorists out of this country. Just in the last 150 days, under President Trump and Secretary Noem's leadership, 570 known or suspected terrorists have been picked up, arrested, and deported off the American people's streets. Further, Border Patrol has apprehended almost 1,000 individuals who are on the terror watch list. It's stunning, Dana, the amount of people who are terrorists who are allowed to walk with impunity on America's streets.
Well, they're being protected in certain parts of the country where folks automatically think that if law enforcement wants to arrest you, you're some sort of victim of America and you should be protected and you should be allowed to stay here forever and you've done nothing wrong and we're just going to take your word for it. And mind you, this is only one recently busted criminal operation. News Nation's got a great report on mass arrests happening at the southern border of Iranian nationals. How are they getting the money to do this and travel over here? And why is it all happening right now? These are big questions. And as you're about to see, there are other possibly state-sponsored actors who've entered America for purposes that are equally frightening.
Have been arrested for allegedly spying on U.S. Navy service members and bases. They're accused of recruiting personnel for Chinese Ministry of State Security. Congressman Darrell Issa, Republican from California, joins me now. Congressman, do you think Xi Jinping is aware of all of this and actually organizing spying on America?
It's a matter of policy for China to do this. So this particular group of spies, well, when you consider that they may have thousands of spies here, or they do have thousands of spies here, including a number of embedded students, I wouldn't know that he would know the name of them, but absolutely. That's one of the reasons, Stuart, that they buy so much land near bases. They even invested in Tijuana, just south of my district, in a listening post that can listen to us from Mexico.
That is incredibly frightening, but it makes sense if you are in an economic worldwide conflict with America, which is a soft conflict like China is. It would make sense to have your assets around the country and also inside of it if possible. And the operation we're hearing about in this report is just one of many. In fact, a recent smuggling bust in Florida saw many individuals from China getting arrested in mass raids. And the odd thing about this is the smugglers driving these U-Haul vans, which were rented, they didn't speak English, they were fluent in Spanish. And in the back of the vans, they were transporting dozens of people who'd been dropped off on the shores of Florida and were then supposed to make their way into the country.
Collecting political, military, and technological secrets. In a statement, Attorney General Pam Bondi said, quote, "This case underscores the Chinese government's sustained and aggressive effort to infiltrate our military." The following year, while both men were in China, they're accused of working to arrange what's called a dead drop, leaving at least $10,000 in cash inside a locker at a Livermore, California bowling alley for a U.S.-based co-conspirator acting on behalf of MSS interests. The operation involved several U.S.-based individuals, including a woman identified by investigators as Chen's wife, who was caught on surveillance footage placing the backpack in the locker. The DOJ also alleges the suspects gathered intelligence on U.S. service members and...
So this is real spy stuff, and even though some of the people involved in these operations came into the U.S. legally, maybe they got like a student visa, travel visa, something that is work-related, there are now so many of these incidents taking place that the FBI has their hands full with hundreds of cases to track down, like people entering a U.S. missile base, tourists going on a quote-unquote scuba trip near a naval facility. And what's frightening about all of this is these individuals entered the country in a...
If it was up to me, I would only allow a certain percentage of poor people. Like, most of them are poor. Why do we want poor people? We want doctors, engineers, scientists. We should measure the percentage of poor people that'll do the jobs Americans don't want. Americans don't do it because they don't pay anything, because they get to abuse, these people.
Verifiable manner. They didn't all sneak in. Some came in through holes in the Swiss cheese, so to speak. And if people are able to sneak into the country in a quasi-legal manner, and then we've got these vans in Florida getting pulled over with dozens of individuals who aren't here legally, it kind of makes you wonder what the true number of potential foreign adversaries in the United States actually is. And it also makes you wonder why residents of sanctuary cities have no problem with any of this and are ready to defend those people. Is it because they dislike America that much? Do they believe the whole idea of a foreign threat on U.S. soil is a myth? Is that what these folks are thinking? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.
Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed this. I really like talking about this kind of stuff because it pisses me off. But if you're pissed off now, remember how pissed off you were when Biden was president and we didn't know Trump would get in or not. Those were crazy times. So be grateful.